This is Heathcote Junction, the highest point on the railway line between Melbourne and Albury. Here the rails reach a height of 349 metres above sea level to cross the Great Dividing Range. Trains in both directions face a gradient of 1 in 50, testing the skills of train crew. The line opened in 1872, with the station opening in 1885 as Summit, the name later being changed to Heathcote Junction. Although no longer a junction, the branch line to Bendigo that left from here was closed in 1968, the name has been retained. In 1962, the standard gauge line between Melbourne and Albury opened and dramatically changed rail operations between Melbourne and Sydney. Tuesday, the 20th of March 1990, a typical day for train operations across the Great Divide. During the 12 hours of daylight from 6 a.m, a total of 33 freight and passenger trains passed by our cameras. So settle back and watch the variety of traffic climbing the summit. It's 6:24, and usually the early morning commuters travel by rail motor. Today they have a bonus of a passenger train hauled by B61. The first glimpses of sunlight welcome X36 with its empty hopper wagons bound for the Apex Quarry at Kilmore East, just 10 kilometres up the line. The time is 6:55. Right on schedule at 7 o'clock is the second passenger train of the day. Double heading the set is T395 and P22, with the P providing power for the air conditioning and lighting for the carriages. As P12 with the 655 ex-Seymour Pass stops at Heathcote Junction on time at 7:35, SRA locomotive 8168 climbs the grade with the super freighter. Behind the loco is 1,659 tonnes of freight in 32 bogie wagons on the standard gauge from Sydney. Roaring through the junction on time at 7:55 is the Melbourne Express. G518 heads 16 cars on the overnight train from Sydney. Five minutes later, and watched by a raven resting on the train radio mast, diesel railcar 42 crests the summit to pick up students going to Seymour. Following the Melbourne Express on the standard gauge at 8:20 is the Contrans freight, with its maximum load from Cooks River Freight Terminal in Sydney. Making light work of its 165-tonne load is A62 as it races the Goulburn Valley Limited to Spencer Street at 8:45. 8 minutes later, climbing the grade just as easily, is N460, heading to its destination of Albury on the Murray River. Four minutes ahead of schedule at 9:19, and the driver of A66 has time to give us a friendly toot as he speeds to Melbourne with the Twin City Limited. A66 has been specially painted to promote Melbourne's bid for the 1996 Olympic Games. The intercapital daylight, with its kaleidoscope of coloured cars, heads north. With 8176 in front, it's had a good run through the suburbs, reaching here at 9:39, 4 minutes ahead of time. With its hoppers full of rock, X36 slowly hauls its load of 908 tonnes up the 1 in 50 grade, reaching the summit at 9:45. At 9:56, N459, trying to catch up a couple of lost minutes, speeds up the bank with an in-car set bound for Cobram. Diesel railcar 42 makes its second appearance for the day at 10:20 with the 940 ex-Seymour chocolate service. Not a train, but still on rails, is this standard gauge high rail vehicle, bound for some maintenance further up the track. Apex quarry trains have been a feature of freight operations for many years. At 11:25, T409 and S312 bring empties over the hill, heading for Kilmore East. The lunchtime train to Albury heads through at 12:40. Class leader N451 makes easy work of the 3 cars and van. Ten minutes later, 8173, at the head of 671 tonnes of empty car wagons, top the hill for the descent to Ford's Upfield factory. Just 2 minutes later, and there's more action, as R761 and a small load steams north to Seymour with a specially chartered train. Locomotive 8168 with its Sydney-bound standard gauge freight of 30 wagons and 851 tonnes. Some of the wagons are empty steel wagons, returning to Port Kembla. The wagons brush the trees at 13:02. Now, with 1,444 tonnes behind them, S312 and T392 make slow progress as they haul another load from the Apex quarry. This one is heading to Westall, in Melbourne's southeastern suburbs. The time is 13:42. Making its third appearance today is diesel railcar 42, arriving at the summit a couple of minutes late at 13:58, with the 13:05 ex Spencer Street. Also making its third appearance is X36, with return empties for the Kilmore East Quarry. The time is 14:22. (1,408 tonnes do not cause any problems for 8180 and 8166 on their journey from Dynon to Enfield and Cooks River. They reach the summit at 14:50. At 15:16, N460 raises the dust with an up Albury pass. With a load of new cars, T411 clears the station at 16:03, heading for Enfield. It's 16:21 and the shadows are getting longer. N459 runs through non-stop with the Cobram to Melbourne Pass. After a day in the classroom, it's 16:46 and back home, courtesy again of diesel railcar 42. The quiet of the early evening at 17:08 is disturbed as X36 struggles up the grade with a load of 988 tonnes. "16 minutes later, at 17:24, R761 heads back to Melbourne with its special train. The first of the evening commuter services from Melbourne arrive at Heathcote Junction 3 minutes later. P21 at the helm. From the shade at 1802, A77 heads north with the return Twin Cities Limited. The last rays of sunshine greet P13 hauling 4 commuter cars at the summit. It's 1829 and our camera is stretched to its limit to record the scene. As darkness closed in on Heathcote Junction and the cameras were packed away, the trains kept rolling, with another 8 scheduled before midnight. And so, as it has for the last 118 years, the Great Dividing Range at Heathcote Junction continues its daily battle with freight and passenger train crews as they climb the summit.